We know Iowa's good. We know South Carolina's undefeated. We know LSU is going to be good. Last year was Virginia Tech. I think there was a Miami story. Is it all the same teams? What do we need to know going into this entire thing, Elle?
What you need to know, Pat McAfee, is that, yes, this is the absolute worst nightmare for some of the offices because we look at censors with wildness abandon. I will also say when it comes to the women's side, it's not like the men. Like, don't get cute. Don't pick Cinderella teams. We've never, ever, ever had lower than a 3 seed ever win the national championship. In fact, 10 out of the 11 national champions on the women's side have been 1 seeds. LSU, the exception last year, they were a 3 seed. So Miami is out after their improbable run with the Cavender twins. As you also know, the Instagram influencers, they're out. They are not even in the tournament after an Elite 8 run just last year. Iowa's still in there. Iowa has the toughest path. I got to tell you, they showed Iowa no love, you guys, because Iowa is technically the second number 1 seed behind South Carolina, who has the easiest path when you look at their bracket. Iowa would potentially have to face Colorado, who are some absolute dogs, and at one point in the season were ranked 3rd. Then they would potentially have to face a Kansas State team, who, by the way, they've already faced twice, and they split. And then they would, for an Elite 8 matchup, either have to play LSU, the team they had to play in the Natty last year, or UCLA, who as of like 10 days ago was very much in the running for a 1 seed. So I got to tell you, the tournament committee did not make it.
What's that all about, Elle?
I don't know.
Oh, they're racist. That's why. Is it racist because she's white, Elle? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that, clearly our white sisters have always had to face some of the especially in this sport. And so I feel for her. She doesn't get enough attention or love. I got to say, though, this pours cold water all over the notion that we sort of orchestrate who gets to move on to the Final Four, because they are not making this path easy for Caitlin Clark at all, despite knowing that she is a huge moneymaker.
So we assumed, just as the thought that you just had there, we are the doofuses that think that. All right, we're going to have Iowa in one, we're going to have SC in one, we're going to have LSU in another one, and then I don't know who the 4th team would have been this year. Who would that 4th team been? I guess you just said it.
It was Texas that ended up getting the 1 seed. It was also between Stanford as well.
Okay, so Texas, Stanford, and then the Final Four is like, here, this is what you came for.
Yeah.
This is what we're here for. Instead, it's not that. Angel or Caitlin are going to knock each other out in the Elite 8, and then we're going to have to keep it moving. Now, Ty, who's an Iowa Hawkeye diehard, has a question.
Yeah, Elle, why do you think, that is a 2-part question, why do you think they did end up kind of screwing Iowa over? Like, I mean, it's very similar to the men's draw where UConn is by and far the best team in the tournament, and they have maybe the most difficult path to the Final Four. But why do you like?
Is LSU not as good this year?
Well,
is that why they?
They just made it to the SEC championship, and you said it, like they're not technically hand-picking matchups, but like doesn't that kind of just take the entire process of making the selections and like throwing it into the wind when if they are supposed to be the number 2 overall seed and they arguably have the most difficult path, like why do you think that ended up happening?
There are some metrics that are in play when it comes to picking for the women's show as well. Like they also have to follow something called an S-curve, which is like a specific metric in terms of how many conference teams can be in the same bracket, how far they'll have to travel. There's like a lot of stuff that goes into it, like a few additional wrinkles from the men. I got to be honest with you, though. We sat there yesterday, guys, scratching our head going, it would have been really easy to take some of these like 2 and 3 seeds from these other brackets and put it in Iowa's bracket so that it would have been a little bit of an easier path. I mean, it's all about matchups, right? And the problem is that it's not LSU. McAfee, I heard you say, Pat, is LSU worse this year? They're the same seeding as they were last year. They're a 3 seed. The difference this year is that they're a lot bigger, right? Like they don't have Alexis Morris, who was a guard for them, their point guard, and a great facilitator. They're still a little weak there, but they're a lot bigger. They added Haley Van Lith. They added Anissa Morrow. They can really match up in the post, and that is not at all Iowa's strong suit. Certainly that didn't bother them as much last year when they faced South Carolina, but I just think it's a matchup nice. UCLA, same thing. They're really big players. Like they've got big post players, and that does not lend itself to Iowa's strong suit. So I don't know why. I don't sit on the committee. There's 12 people. They said that this was hotly debated. I even asked the question, guys, because we have a chance to kind of huddle with them. And I asked them, I go, So not at any point did you guys plot out the bracket and go, ooh, I don't know about having Iowa and LSU in an Elite Eight matchup. Maybe we should save that for Cleveland. And she says they don't look at those things. They seed everybody, and then how they end up is how they end up when they put it in the machine.
Well, shout out to them for being super honorable.
Yeah, sure. Nice.
Way to go. We appreciate it. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even, what are you talking about?
That's dumb.
Had to have come up in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good journalism. That was a good question out there. But listen, Caitlin Clark in Iowa and Angel Reese in LSU, hey, they wouldn't want any other way. So you got to go through the best to be named the best. Matchup, certainly an interesting thing with that Iowa team. Seems to be smaller this year than last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Smaller this year than they were last year, right, Elle?
Correct. They don't have Monica Zanano. They don't have McKenna Warnock. So they definitely don't have some of the size that they had last year. She doesn't have that sort of Robin to her Batman like she had with Zanano last year. It's really going to have to be about all the guards stepping up. Can Gabby Marshall step up? Can Hannah Stolke step up? She is a little undersized for a post player. But we saw that in their game against Ohio State to end the regular season. And we saw that again in their Big Ten run to a Big Ten title in the tournament. If their guards can shoot the lights out, then they can absolutely be a Final Four team no matter who they're playing.
How many home games in the women's tournament?
Yeah, so they'll host the first 2 rounds. They're in Iowa, and then they'll move on to Albany.
We've talked about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Who are some other girls that we have to watch in this tournament, like that are just showstoppers we need to see?
Well, I mean, I could literally go right down the list on the scoring because the top scorer, of course, in D1 is Caitlin Clark. Right behind her and already breaking some of her freshman records is Juju Watkins from USC. She is so fun to watch. She can light it up. Like legit, she's breaking records that like Cheryl Miller and Lisa Leslie held, and that should tell you everything you need to know. An incredible freshman. She's got USC back in a position they haven't been in a long time and a lot quicker than they thought. I would watch for her. They've got a pretty interesting run. We could potentially get a USC UConn. Ooh. So it would be Juju Watkins, who's going to be freshman of the year, versus Paige Beckers. Like, that would be nasty. I also think, and we're going to talk to her on SportsCenter tonight, Hannah Hidalgo at Notre Dame. You know why? I know this show likes dogs. And like Hannah Hidalgo is a dog in the best kind of way. She talks shit. Yes. She's fast. She will pick your pocket. Her pace is frenetic and crazy. She is third in scoring.
Notre Dame.
She's for Notre Dame.
Okay.
Notre Dame.
I like Notre Dame.
Hannah Hidalgo is so fun to watch. Notre Dame they've got a nice favorable matchup as well, a favorable bracket as well. I would definitely watch for Hannah Hidalgo because she's just phenomenal. And then I'll give you one more freshman because I think like all the freshmen are doing their thing at Texas. She's the first freshman to ever get Big 12 Player of the Year. She shared that honor, but her name is Madison Booker, man. And she's got Texas as a 1 seed simply because of her will. Like she is fantastic. I think you'll enjoy watching her too.
Just curious, is it really like South Carolina or the field? And is like the predominant thought that South Carolina is just too good and that it doesn't matter how well anyone else is playing, they're going to just kind of run through the tournament and win it all?
Good basketball mind on this side would tell you that the only people that are going to beat South Carolina is South Carolina. Now, I get it, especially as an Iowa person. I get it, right? Like you guys literally beat them last year. They were a favorite last year as well. But last year, they just didn't have that outside shooting, and they've got that. They brought in Tahina Pow from Oregon. She's a transfer. She can light it up. Raven Johnson is lighting it up. They've got great two-way players. Like, they can shoot now and play defense. They've got an inside and outside game. Like, honestly, South Carolina is going to have to beat themselves in order to get beat. They are really just that good. So I would say that overwhelmingly, most of the brackets are going South Carolina's way.
All right.